America has flipped again. Joe Biden said he wouldn't pardon his son Hunter, and he's pardoned his son Hunter. So, the right is going nuts in America because Joe Biden, who has been president now for 4 years, and his term ends on January the 20th next year, and just over a month and a half away. He's pardoned his son. Said he wouldn't, but he has. The striking thing here is, there are a couple of aspects to this, and the first being that even federal prosecutors say that had he not been Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, the crimes he's charged with, he would not have been charged with. So it begs the question, was he charged because we have to be seen to be charging? We have to be seen to be upholding the law, because the minute we don't, the wheels come off, and you're no better than anybody else, Joe, and your son deserves the same treatment as everybody else. And I get that, completely get that. And I'm not saying in any way, shape or form that what Hunter's done is right. He's broken the law. But the question remains, would he have been charged and found as guilty and as culpable and as punished if he wasn't Joe Biden's son? And that is, to me, the basis of all of this. What amazes me, but also at the same time never ceases to amaze me, is the reaction from the right. So, Joe Biden's president. The president has the pardon power. It's his power to use at his discretion or her discretion. There's no committees. There's no oversight of this. It's his privilege. He can do that. If that's what he wants to do, he can do that. Legally, he can do that. So Joe Biden acts within the law. The world comes apart. Double standard, shouldn't have done this. Nobody else would have been able to do this. Yeah, but back to the original question, were you prosecuting him because his father was president? I think any sane person would say yes. Now, he doesn't get special treatment because his father's president, but he shouldn't also be treated any differently, any better or any worse, because his father's president. So it's a bit of a backwards job, is this, because what amazes me is he's president, he pardons his son. Now, whether ethically or not, you've got a bit of a question there. We'll come to that in a minute. But this is how the law works in America. And because he's worked within the law, that's a problem. Donald Trump, who they've just re-elected as president to take office on January the 20th, does everything he can outside the law. 91 criminal charges, 26 sexual assault allegations, 6 bankruptcies, 5 draft deferments, 4 indictments, 2 impeachments, 1 convicted company, 1 fake university shut down, 1 fake charity shut down, 25 million fraud settlement, 5 million sexual abuse verdict, 2 million charity abuse judgment. And I'm sat here thinking, what the heck is going on? How can you be arguing and be in hue and cry, as it were, and all this upset based on the fact that this guy has pardoned his son legally? Nobody mentioned, by the way, any of the pardons that Trump dished out. Nobody mentioned Jared Kushner's dad. Where was the uproar then? None. Not a single thing. Because do you know why? Because Trump can pardon who he likes. Trump tried to pardon himself. Trump plans, according to reports, to pardon every 6th of January rioter, insurrectionist. He pardoned Roger Stone. He pardoned members of his own government, for God's sake. And there is no uproar to that. And that's the thing that baffles me completely. Now, let's flip this back. Ethically, morally, do I think Joe Biden was right? No, I don't. I think I understand it. I haven't got kids, but I understand the father's wanting to protect his son, but I don't think ethically this was the right move. I don't. And I think, if anything, you just poured gas on the fire for the Republicans, which is what you've done, which is now what they're doing. They're all screaming and shouting, and he said this, and he weren't going to... I don't know if they're more annoyed that he said he wouldn't and then has, or if he has at all. I'm not quite sure. I can't work that bit quite out. But ultimately, would they have been less upset if he'd said from the beginning, I'm going to pardon him? I don't know. But I don't think the pardon power, as it is fit for its purpose. And I had this conversation with my brother once about Richard Nixon and the pardon that Gerald Ford gave him. And I had no issue with Ford giving a pardon, knock yourself out. That's part of your job. It's part of your privilege, part of your powers. That's what you want to do it. My issue with the Nixon pardon was the timing. Personally, I think he should have waited until Nixon had been convicted, because then that sends the message, and would have sent the message to the Supreme Court currently, that presidents can be prosecuted, can be found convicted, and convicted of crimes, and therefore be liable to prison or whatever else the sentence is. What Gerald Ford did was set a precedent that said, I'm going to pardon the president, we're not even going to get to trial. And I think that was a fundamental mistake, because that has consequences today. I don't think the Supreme Court would have been able to push through the broad spectrum of immunity that, by the way, no other presidents needed. We're up to 47, 48? No other presidents needed immunity except Donald Trump, which, if that's not alarming to you, I don't know what else is. Seriously, I don't. I just don't get it. The precedent here that Ford set was, you can convict a president, but we're going to pardon you. We're not going to go through that process. And I think that was a massive mistake. And I think Joe Biden has now set the precedent that you can pardon family members, whether it's right or wrong. And ultimately, I think, and I'd love to hear from Americans, and if you're a constitutional expert, I'd love to hear from you on this. My issue is, at the minute, that I'm not sure the Constitution as it is fit for purpose. I'm not sure that the Constitution and the powers of the President are currently fit for purpose. In that, there should be some rules about who you can pardon. I don't think the Founding Fathers ever thought that a president would be in a position where he would be choosing whether to pardon a family member or a close friend or a relative or somebody that works for them. Personally, I think that should be off limits. There should be, you can pardon who you like, but you can't know them. You can't be related to them. You can't work with them. I think there should be some boundaries on that. There should be some limits. If the next president that's in wants to pardon them, knock yourself out. But you pardoning your son, or you pardoning your father-in-law, or your son-in-law's father, or the person that worked for you that was... Nixon planned to pardon the people that he'd sent to commit a crime. That... as one of my favourite detectives would say.
Wind it back, wind it back.
How does that work? I'm sending you to commit a crime, and when you've done it, it's fine. Don't worry, I'll pardon you. What world are we living in? Seriously. So I have some issues with that. I also have some issues with the Constitution, in that it isn't up to date. It isn't fit for purpose in that you can't vote if you are a felon, but you can run for president if you're a felon. I think the Founding Fathers thought, as most Americans I'm sure would think, that people running for office as president or governor or whatever else would be people that are beyond reproach, people who are the best of the best. And there is a video coming shortly where I look at the result of the election and sort of give you what my thoughts are, whether you want them or not. There they are. And it baffles me. The entire thing baffles me. The presidency used to be about the best you can be. But you've got a guy here whose criminal charges found legally liable for rape. I mean, what on earth? Why on earth would you want to appoint somebody president? I mean, that baffles me. But the problem the Republicans have is you can't have it both ways. You cannot sit and say he's pardoned somebody, it's outrageous, it's within the law. But what our guy is doing is completely outside the law, and that's fine. This is not how it works. You are the farmer. And I don't think the American people are that stupid not to realise that you are the farmer that pulls the guy out of the pool of water that they're stuck in the middle of the road, and the farmer says, well, I'm going to have to charge you because this is like the fifth one I've done today and I've got stuff to do. So he gets his tractor and he pulls the car out of the water. What the American people don't know is that the farmer is the one that's filling the pool with water. He's creating this issue. And I think that is the biggest thing that the American people are not getting here. I don't think Joe Biden was right, morally, ethically, to pardon his son. But I also don't think it was right for the Justice Department to prosecute somebody that would not, under any other circumstances, be prosecuted for lying on a form. They did that because he was Joe Biden's son. So in that respect, knock yourself out, Joe. No disrespect. The way that Joe Biden's been treated, rightly or wrongly, whether he should have dropped out earlier, whether he shouldn't have done, he's served his country for life. He's always been in office. He's always done the elections. He's been a vocal representative of the people he represents, and he's been treated appallingly. So I do get the up yours, pal, this is what we're doing moment, but I think I'm slightly disappointed because I think, personally, I thought he was better than that. I understand it, and I've no qualms with it legally. It's his right to do. But I do wonder what precedent this now sets for everything else. As Ford should have wondered, as Biden should have wondered, what does this say for the rest of America's history? If there will be in America that as we currently know it. Let me know your thoughts. Email us, hail@hailtalkradio.com. Add a comment. Don't forget, hit the subscribe and the like button. It does help. It does help us share the message. Coming shortly, we've got more mental health videos, which I know from the feedback and the emails, more importantly, that we've had are well received. And if you've got any questions on that or any points to make on that, again, drop us an email, hail@hailtalkradio.com. Until next time, if you can be anything, be kind.